Okay, Chairperson Beauchamp.
Here.
Commissioner Koopman.
Here.
Commissioner Worsing.
Here.
Commissioner Willers.
Here.
Commissioner Hall.
Present.
And Commissioner Walls.
Here.
Okay, thank you, Director Anderson. Commissioner Willers, have I asked you to lead us in the salute to the flag yet?
No.
All right, I'd like
to one meeting.
Well, let me ask you to do this tonight, and then I'll just warn you in advance. It's a little awkward because of the delay, but if we could all stand and Commissioner Willers, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, although I cannot stand tonight.
That's fine.
That's okay.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
You're doing great.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I gave you the warning in advance because it's kind of weird.
I forget
since we're not in
through
person.
what the words are.
You did great. Are there any blue folder items?
No.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the consent calendar or could I get a motion to receive and file consent calendar?
So moved.
A second.
Okay. All in favor of receiving and filing, I guess I'll do this roll call. Consent calendar, Commissioner Koopman.
Yes.
Commissioner Walls.
Yes.
Commissioner Hall. Commissioner Worsing. That was
Yes.
a yes from Commissioner and Commissioner Willers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There are no members of the public for non-agenda items. So we're on to item I1, discussion of communication with council members.
Okay, so we carried over this item from the last meeting because this was something that was suggested by Commissioner Willers and she was unable to make the last meeting. So I don't think we talked about much at the last meeting, except I did talk about all the various forms of communication that we have with the public and with you all, which is I listed out in the report this time. So but there's nothing that's condensed for, that goes directly to the council people, although they do have access to this commission packet. I don't know, Commissioner Willers, if you want to talk a little bit more about your idea.
Okay, my idea is basically a marketing idea. It's how do we get the councilmen to know about the library and to talk to their constituents about the library? I have attended 3 councilmen's meetings, usually monthly, and I've never once heard them mention the library. And I think that they should. I think their constituents are interested in the library. Most of their constituents belong to the library. But I'm certain there's people out there who don't and don't know what the library has to offer. And I don't think the councilmen do either. And I know we print the newsletter, but most council people have full-time jobs and do this as a part-time job. And so I hate to say this, they're a bit like Trump. They want 3 bullet points. Give them 3 bullet points and they'll read it. Fancy things they won't read because it's too busy for their poor, tired brains after work to get through. But you give them 3 bullet points as the concept and they'll read it. And when you say, Councilman, this is for your constituents, isn't this wonderful? They'll might mention it to their constituents. And that was the concept behind us doing a very brief 4 bullet point briefing to the mayor, the chief of police who sends me notices to send him money, huge mailings to send him money for toys or something, or for policemen. I don't care. Why aren't we sending money to the library? Anyway, nobody talks about the library. We need these council people to talk about the library. We need the mayor to think it's a fabulous place to go for everybody in Redondo Beach. And that's the concept of the library briefs. So very brief, a very brief message that we send out to the mayor, the councilman, the chief of police, just so they know we'll read it. 3 things.
So can I?
Sure.
Right, yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wilson.
So when we discussed it at the last meeting, and I realized you weren't able to attend, so we were trying to, go through what do they already get? And you're right, they already get our agenda packet and our minutes and all of that stuff. They get the newsletters. They get a lot of stuff. And the idea is to give them something that is crisp and easy for them to convey. The challenge is, how do we get that to them? Because they already get so many emails, and they get a huge volume of information coming in. So if we wanted to give them 3 or 4 bullet points, how do we communicate it to them in such a way that it's not just another email? It's not, it doesn't get clogged up with the rest of their agenda packet. So I understand what you're saying about crisp, short bullet points. How to communicate it in such a way that they receive it and they know that they can easily send it on.
Good point. And I think that one of the things is to have it not appear with everything else. Is that you have it totally separate from everything else that we send them. I don't know if we send them everything at the same time. Do they get the library briefings and all the packages from everybody at the same time? I do not know that.
Well, the thing
And
is, they're only going to get the newsletter if they signed up for the newsletter. They used to have the physical commission agenda packet put in their box, but now they're just supposed to link to it like everybody else. So they would actually have to do that. And then even the newsletter, you could get the calendar of events on the website. That's one thing. And then you could get the email newsletter, but there's a lot of information even in that email newsletter.
Commissioner Walls, you've been very patient.
First, I completely agree with both Commissioner Willers and Commissioner Wersing that we absolutely need better outreach. We need better communication with our council people. And it seems like they're a natural path for us to communicate with the residents and in outlying areas of Redondo Beach, our constituents that would like to use a library and may not know all of the benefits of it. Is it possible, is there an option to maybe speak with our council people and ask if we could be placed on their agendas and just have a commitment from one of us to go to each meeting or a series of meetings and say, here we are, this is what we're talking about. I don't know if there's legalities or anything in that, but it seems like that might be something nice. And then the council people might also appreciate having a little bit of fresh content. So maybe they'll get more interest in their meetings as well. Has that been tossed around yet?
No, I think it's fabulous. Because I certainly go to 3 councilmen's meetings, council persons meetings. You can see who's I go to. I say council persons meetings. And I certainly can raise my hand and ask, or to my own councilman, who's Councilman Obaji, I write him emails all the time. So let him know what's happening in my little village of Heritage Point. The wild ship people over here. So I think that we each have a councilman. I don't know if anybody goes to their council meetings normally. Do we cover all the council people from within the library commission? I have Obaji, I'm District 4.
Yeah, I believe there is one member from each district on the commission. Is that correct? I believe so.
I'm actually not sure.
I don't think it's required.
Right, correct.
Well, let's do a quick check. So I'm in, let's see, Laura MD's. So there's 2.
District 2, so I'm Todd Lowenstein.
Lowenstein.
Obaji.
I think I'm Niels.
Obaji.
Oh, so we have 2.
So no Horvath.
No Horvath.
I'm actually checking our website right now because I know what it says on there. So give me a second and I'll get.
I will say I did go to Councilman Horvath's. He did invite me once to go speak at his, and I brought a bunch of flyers and talked for quite a while about what was going on at the library as the featured speaker. But I think just doing, a very quick, 5 minutes or something on this is what's going on at the library by the commission members, might be useful.
The only ones we don't have represented looks like 6. There's 6 districts, right? Yeah, so we have 1, 4,
5 districts.
5 districts? I thought there was 6. Okay, then they were all covered. If it's
Well, I don't think anybody's in Horvath district, it sounds like.
Well, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1. So if there's 5 districts, I thought there was 6. That's why maybe I'm mistaken. Hold on.
Isn't he 4?
No, there is, Horvath is 3.
Okay.
So there are 5 districts, excuse me. So
Where is Commissioner Nafisi?
Horvath.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, so we do have somebody then.
Yeah.
Good. But that may be a way to do it. I don't know if everybody talks to their council people like I do, or emails them all the time. I certainly do. I don't do it as a library commissioner. I do it as a person from here, from a large housing project.
Yeah, and I think it'll be important to make sure that there's still that separation as far as, obviously what we do as library commissioners is a different intent and motivation. But is that something that maybe people would be comfortable with? Like I would be completely comfortable going to a District 2 meeting and having 5 minutes or less or more if they want it, but just saying what's new with the library, or, we can come up with a catchy slogan or something once we figure out how to actually get to these things and participate.
Exactly.
Well, what would you all think of something like, because I like Commissioner Willers, what you did here, what you chose to sort of highlight, like in one case you chose the fact that when we reopen, so you kind of have a variety of stuff on there. What if Commissioner Willers sent her 3 top points of what was going on at the library to everybody, and then they could ask to go speak at their council person's meeting, or if they don't have time, send them something by email.
That's a good
I
suggestion.
think it sounds great.
I don't think it's Brown Act if she just sends it out and there's no discussion.
Well, it's not Brown Act yeah, that's right. If it's sent out and there's no discussion, yeah. As long as it's, so right, actually, it feels like we're getting close to a motion. I don't know, Commissioner Willers, if you want to take a stab at a motion?
Can I take one more?
Or go ahead.
More, just one more second on kind of generally speaking.
Sure.
It seems like it might be from a communications perspective, it might be received better if we, instead of each one of us going to our council person and saying, hey, library commission, this is what we want to do. Is there something we can more do at the city level? Just say, commission or council people, please expect to be contacted from your library commissioner to pave the way. And so they don't think, what the heck, are you going rogue or something? Or is that not necessary? Am I thinking too much into it?
I love that idea. I also think that we have to do this monthly. I don't think it should be a one-off.
Do they have their meeting every month? Do they tend to have monthly meetings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or mine does.
Mm-hmm.
I think they all do, because I seem to get things emailed to me all the time. So it needs to be, we need to keep it somehow, get them to know all the time that this is going on. Every single month, they need to be reminded, your constituents would love to come to the library because we're doing a special program on XYZ.
The other option, I guess.
On camera.
The other option, I guess, would be that somebody from the commission could go up to during the public comments at the city council meeting and speak. Then that would cover all of them. But I don't know if as many people watch or attend the city council as they do the individual council people's meetings.
Yeah, Commissioner Willers, do you want to, what do you propose?
I think Commissioner Koopman has her hand up.
Sorry, Commissioner Koopman, I didn't see that.
Oh, no, it's
Thank
okay. It's okay. I just wanted to comment. I do like the idea, but Commissioner Willers said every month, and I don't know if every month is really possible only because we meet every other month. So that would be my question. Like, just how would we execute this? I mean, because is this coming from us or is this coming from the library?
I think that's why we need a motion.
Okay.
Unless you go ahead. Commissioner Worsing, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, before we have a motion, I guess I need to understand, is this a recommendation, a suggestion that we each try to get to our city council person's meetings each month? Because, I travel. Do I need to schedule my travel around, I have to be home? Or is it like when we can get to it? What are we talking about?
It can be whatever somebody moves. So
So, but let me ask Susan, I don't have a problem going in front of the whole council, I'm certain. Commissioner Beecham doesn't either. Beauchamp, excuse me. I've lived in London a long time, and Beauchamp is pronounced Beecham.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think it's would be something you would do?
Well, it's funny. Let me give you an example. So when I was manager of the West Hollywood Library, I worked for the county, but I would go to the city council meetings for West Hollywood, even though I was a county employee managing that library. And I would get up and speak at public comment to say, we're having this special program coming up or what have you. So I don't see the other department heads doing that here. I did do it once when we had a book to action program. I did get up and just announce it on the mic because I didn't feel like it was really an agenda item. But it seems like that would be the option for a commissioner to go up during public comment, kind of at the start of the meeting and say, here are some special things that are going on at the library. Just like how, the council people talk about what's going on, in their district or what have you at the beginning of the meeting.
Fine. I have no trouble taking it on. And I think our chairman wouldn't have trouble. Is there anybody else who is interested in doing it? No show of hands here.
If I'm in town, I'm happy to. I would be uncomfortable committing to, yes, I'm going to do this every month because I wouldn't be able to commit to that.
Would you be able to commit
Agreed.
to communicating with your council person the 3 points that the Library Commission wants to deliver each month, just in a personal email that says, hey, as a member of the Library Commission, here are the 3 points we want you to be aware of this month?
I can do that. Yes.
Or we could rotate among the members of the Library Commission so that we don't not one of us has to be there every single month, but everybody could take a month.
I thought we were talking about attending each district's meetings.
I think we could do either one.
Yeah, okay.
You guys would prefer like going to it, speaking briefly at a city council meeting once a month, or Commissioner Willers could send out the talking points for that month, and then you all could either email your representative or ask to speak at the meeting.
I think knowing that our intent here is to reach out to our end constituents, our end consumers, the people that want to come to the library, it may be better received if we are present at the individual district meetings, because that's one step closer to who's actually using the library. Not that the council people don't use it. Of course, it's the best place in the world. But I think that would kind of give it more of a personal feel, more of a, hey, I am your local library commissioner, and here's some great stuff that we've got going on. And then we can also, thinking further down the road, but that might end up turning into a more of our community outreach for feedback or for suggestions on programming or, whatever it is that people may want to contribute. And then we can maybe understand also the reasons why people don't use the library as much as we think they should or that we think they could.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a really good point. So I think what my proposal is I propose that we have I will send out once a month after talking to Susan to make certain what we're clear on, what our path is forward for the month. I will send out to each of the commissioners. I propose that I send out to each of the commissioners 3 talking points for them to discuss with their council person at a meeting or separately an email.
That a motion?
That's a motion.
Any discussion on the motion or a second?
Can I just clarify, did we decide that each district has at least one or more than one member?
Each one, according to that list, has at least one.
Okay, so if there's more than one.
The
then we
Library Commission website says that it's one member for each council district plus 2 that are appointed at large. So some of ours would be, there's 2. So then we would just need to
pick one.
Right. Collaborate so that our council person isn't getting the same thing from 2 people.
Or they get the same thing from 2 people.
Or that's fine.
Okay, I've been here for 8 years and I did not know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
Exactly.
So the motion on the table is that Commissioner Willers will send a monthly 3 talking points that each member of the Library Commission will communicate with their council person. And do we have a second or more discussion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Walls. I guess let's take it to a vote. Commissioner Koopman?
Aye.
Commissioner Walls?
Aye.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you second.
It's okay.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Worsing?
Aye.
And Commissioner Willers, this is your motion. Do you approve of it?
I do.
All right. So motion passes. Let's give it a go. I guess we should pick a start date. I mean, we should probably pick a day or time of the day of the month, maybe. Commissioner Willers, could we amend your? I don't know. Is there a particular day that would be good, or Director Anderson, perhaps you have a suggestion?
I think that would potentially depend on the schedules for the district meetings.
Oh, good point.
And, some people might get it the day before, and for some people it might be 3 weeks old, but we can maybe consider that in the talking points, that there might be an aging of about a month. For things
Yeah, that's a good point.
About.
It's monthly, so I guess whenever you send out the first one, that'll be the day, and then just monthly from that point forward.
Okay.
All right, that was a good discussion. Next item on the agenda is item I2, discussion of strategic planning.
Yes, so thank you all for your letter on Open Plus Access, because they voted it onto the strategic plan. So the next step is that I will be creating a report and bringing it back on June 7th on the feasibility of installing Open Plus at the North Branch.
Cool.
By the way, I ran into Mayor Brand just on the street, and he's very interested in this. And, even if the old hours were restored to the North Branch, it still had limited hours anyway. So I think it's definitely an interesting prospect for that branch. The branch it was installed in Santa Monica, the manager of that branch used to work here, so we all know her. And so a couple of us are going to take a field trip up there to take some notes for this report to see how it's actually working. The Torrance branch, as far as I know, it's still delayed because of the flooding they had at that branch. But once it's open there, I can let you all know. And then for those of you who have a Torrance card, you could go over there, go through the process of getting it upgraded to get in during open access and try it out, if you'd like to do that. So, so that's exciting,
That's super cool.
It is cool. That's
Yeah.
my branch, so I'm happy.
All right.
And I see that, and when looking at your statistics, Susan, that half of the people that, it's about a third of the people that go to the library go to the North Branch.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Your statistics that are accompanying part of this agenda.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it going, if 10,000 people visited the library, 3,500 of them were in the North Branch.
Mhm.
So I think that, or 4,000, 5,000. So I think that anything we can do for the North Branch, which of course is my favorite, it's 2 blocks away. I think it's great.
All right.
Any more discussion on strategic planning? Next item on the agenda is discussion of mid-year budget letter.
Okay, so Commissioner Koopman and Commissioner Nafisi put together this letter for the mid-year budget, and it's just here for your review and any suggestions you'd like to make. The mid-year budget will be discussed on the 15th of February, so that's not this Tuesday, but the next Tuesday. So if you guys want to make any edits, I can do that, and then Chairperson Beauchamp would just need to come in and sign up before next week, although I am going to have to hurry up and get it in the packet, I think, pretty soon.
I had Commissioner Koopman.
I just want to make a comment. Our strategy behind it was just to make it short and sweet, to get to the point. They don't need to know. Yes. And that was so we really wanted them to just literally do like almost like a white page, one pager.
Yeah.
And that way they can just move forward and hopefully make a positive decision.
Director Anderson, I had just one question. Under the digital collection, we talk about how the cost of digital materials. My understanding is that Hoopla, we rent it, so it's not really an ownership model. And Cloud Library, I thought we buy it, but then we're in a pool. Could you, is my understanding correct?
Okay, so Cloud Library, we do buy, although a lot of them disappear after like 2 years, like you only get them for a certain amount of time. I don't think any of them are permanent.
Okay.
But we are in a pool in the sense that we have items that our constituents can place on hold. Other libraries that are in this pool, our constituents can check out their items. They can't put holds on their items. They only see them when they're available and they can check them out.
Okay, but Cloud Library, we pay this $40 and $75 number is a Cloud Library number?
Well, we also have Overdrive, but our Libby, but it's comparable. And
okay.
We have reciprocal lending as well, so they're both similar.
Got it. How do you decide which one to use? Is it based on price, or how do you pick the one that the book goes into?
That's a good question. We had a little bit of a different strategy for Libby because the high school also, all RBUSD students can check out those items even if they don't have a library card with us through the Sora app. So we were trying to get those popular items that might also appeal to like high school students for Libby. We got Libby because we used to have RB Digital, and then RB Digital went under, and so now we've ended up with both of them. And Canopy is now integrating with Libby, and the magazines went to Libby. So, but then we have some things with Cloud Library that are tied into like our self-check machines where you can check out the Cloud Library titles on our machine. So they kind of have different highlights to them.
No, thank you. Sorry for the sidetrack. I just was trying to get my head straight on the digital purchases. So, is there any more discussion about the budget letter?
Well, I have a question. When I believe it was Commissioner Koopman mentioned having a short and sweet, are we thinking this is too detailed then?
Oh no, this was last year's. Well, not last year's, I believe it was 2 years ago, right, Susan?
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 years ago. It was a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, this is shorter.
Okay.
Tried to make it as short as possible, but then we have the header and the subject. So, but it's, you can't go too short because you do need to explain things like the range of $40 to $75, because that is a licensing fee. People forget about the licensing fee that institutions like a library have to pay. And you know, just because you and I can get a book for 99 cents doesn't mean that the library can get a book for 99 cents, unfortunately. So they need to be educated on that also.
Commissioner Hall?
Yeah, I think the letter looks great. I think you did a really nice job with keeping it like short and sweet and making it nicely organized. My only thing I just noticed was that we request $50,000 increase, and then the 3 categories only add up to 48,000. So I don't know that extra 2,000 if we want to explain why we would be asking for that, or if we feel like it's not necessary.
Oops.
Yeah, I think we just missed that. Thank you for catching that.
Oh,
I'm just-
wait,
I'm just
is the juvenile collection 15?
No, it is 15. There it is.
Yeah, it's 8.
Okay, so it
Yeah,
needs to
5
be
and 2.
updated then.
Either way, it was a mathematical error on my part, so I apologize.
No,
So-
thanks for putting it together. So it would be 20,000 juvenile collection, 15,000 and adult collection 15.
Yes.
Thanks for catching it,
20,
Commissioner Hall.
15, and 15, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for catching that. Yeah.
Commissioner Walls?
So I had a question about the digital collection, and from my understanding, the concept behind a digital collection is these are not physical products, they're digital, so they can be distributed to as many people as want to read them at a time. And so I'm not quite clear, at least from what I see in the letter, as far as what the $20,000 will go to. Is that for new content, or is it just we need to extend these licenses for these books for another year or two?
So Hoopla, for instance, if there's a title in Hoopla, like as many people as want to can check that title out. But with Cloud Library and Overdrive, if somebody has it checked out, nobody else can check it out. So it would just be to buy more titles.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like an NFT.
Yeah, but that kind of partially defeats the purpose of having a digital copy.
Well, it's
Especially
digital
in the
rights.
public-
It's digital
Yeah.
rights, right?
Yeah.
You're purchasing the right to.
Yeah.
You don't own it. You have the right to view it.
Yeah.
The thing about the ones that are unlimited is every time somebody checks it out, you get charged.
Yeah.
The other option. And actually Cloud Library and Overdrive now have options like that too, but essentially that's how they operate.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to make the correction and send it to the council?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Koopman, and thank you for you and Commissioner Fisi and Absentia for writing it. It's great.
Oh no, it was fun. So I move that we approve the letter with the correction that was recommended to the mathematical error. And then, we move forward with it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Willers. Let me see if I can do this without double counting. Commissioner Walls?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
And Commissioner Worsing?
Aye.
All right, so the motion passes. Director Anderson, just let me know when I need to swing by.
It's going to be pretty quick. But
Yeah. I could do it tomorrow, I think.
Okay.
Probably in the afternoon. Okay, next item on the agenda is item J1, items for discussion prior to action, discussion of fine-free libraries.
Okay, so to give you all a little bit of history on this is complicated, so let me try to explain this a little bit. So I can't remember when this was, but a couple of years ago, probably within the last 2 years, we went to automatic renewal of items. So a lot of people would find because they would forget to go into the website and renew their item. They just forget, they wouldn't see the reminder, or they would see the reminder and they'd forget to do it. So when we went to automatic renewal, you know, the fine revenue that we were bringing in went down because of that. But if there's a hold on the item, it does not get automatically renewed. And once you have your 3 renewals, and by the way, when I started here, there was only 1 renewal, then we went up to 2, now there's 3. Once you have your 3 renewals, if you don't turn it in by the due date, you would get late fees. So those are the 2 cases where you're going to get late fees. If there's a hold on it and you don't bring it back in, or if you've had your 3 renewals and you don't bring it in by the due date. So in the meantime, a lot of library systems have gone fine free. So that means that if you've got an item out and you've had your renewals are up, or somebody has a hold on it and you don't bring it back and it's due, you bring it back a few days later or whatever, you're not going to get a late fee. But if you don't turn the item in at all, you are going to get charged for the item. I mean, you can't just take stuff and leave and never return it at all. You will eventually get fined. But if you bring it back late, you won't get those late fees. So that's the difference between us and fine-free libraries. And then maybe some other libraries have also waived other kinds of fines, like we have a no pickup fee and other kinds of fines too. But essentially, we're talking about those late fees. So because so many library systems are going to fine free now, I talked to City Manager Mike Witsansky about it. And I was like, if we want the council to consider this, because we have had some patrons start saying, why aren't you fine free? Because, you know, our neighboring systems are, you know, how would I go about this process? And he suggested turning in a budget response report at mid-year, which is, you know, coming up here on the 15th. So I am submitting a budget response report, but I just wanted to let you all know and also give you all the chance to discuss it as well. If any of you want to speak for it or against it during the mid-year budget process. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring it up for discussion.
Commissioner Hall.
So just a couple of things I wanted to clarify from the report here. So I think this paragraph down, you were saying for our library, if we forgave all of the current late fines that we have, that's approximately $170,000.
Yes, now, okay, that's also some libraries who go fine free go back and also forgive all outstanding fines. Some do not, because the council's like, that's just too much money to go back and forgive all prior fines. So that's another option that they have.
Okay, so this 170,000, is that all the current like outstanding fines
yes.
that we have in our library system? Okay, so that would forgive everything.
If they decided to do that. The other option.
Up to now, okay.
So the other option they could do is they could decide not to do that, but they could say going forward, we won't.
Going forward, no more fines.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the percentage of these fines that actually ever get collected?
Well, here's the thing. There are a lot of these cards are inactive now, so we may never see the money regardless. People may be moved away or what have you. I mean, most people who are still using the library are going to pay their fine so they can keep checking out. But in terms of active cards, that means they've used their card, I think, within the last couple of years, so it's still active in the system. We have 369 people who owe fines over $10, which means they can't use the library.
Right. I guess I'm just wondering, maybe you don't have the data on it, but just anecdotally, do you think we end up collecting a certain percentage of that, or do those people just eventually their library card expires and we don't ever actually collect those fines?
It's probably that. They don't get collected.
That's kind of what I'm
And I think it's, we also we do it, and we haven't done, we're overdue by about a year, but we sort of purge the database of inactive cards every 3 years is what we aim for. And I think cards that have fines under $10, we just purge, I believe. There's some threshold where we just purge those because we figure we're never getting the money.
Okay. And how much of operations depends on you being able to collect fines?
How much of operations depend? What did you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, like is that something that you depend on every year in order to actually run the library? That you know you're going to collect X amount of fines, or is that just something that's on top of the budget?
Well, it represents about 0.03% of the total budget. I will say I didn't go into as much detail in this report as I did the budget response report, but you know, back in like 2010, we pulled in 96,000. By 2015, it was 59. By 2017, it was 45. 2018, it was 41. So it's been going down. 41,000. It's been going down steadily.
Mm-hmm. So then is that something that gets built into what you're budgeting every year? Like if we didn't have that anymore, we couldn't keep, a part-time librarian, or we couldn't be, what would be the ramifications, I guess?
Well, I think the systems that have gone fine free, it hasn't been under the idea of like, okay, we'll let you go fine free, but you have to give up a librarian or whatever. I think it's just, we will just do without this money because it's such a small part of the budget.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious on clarifying some of those things. I would definitely be a big fan of getting rid of them.
Commissioner Koopman?
If I'm not mistaken, the money that we collect from fines doesn't go back to the library, right? Doesn't it go into the general services?
It actually goes into the general fund, but when you do your budget every year, you say how much revenue you're bringing in, and I'm sure that, they do consider that. I think my initial concern was actually less about the revenue and more about are people who are on hold for like an item going to have to wait a lot longer if somebody keeps that item out for weeks longer. That was my initial concern. Now, I did put that query out there, and, the couple of directors wrote back and said they haven't had an issue, and that's apparently what they say in the literature as well. That was sort of my sticking point on it originally, but maybe it's less of an issue than I thought.
Yeah, personally, the fine was a big motivator for me to return my books.
I think it was a motivator for me when I was in high school.
I think from an equity standpoint, I think it's just that, these fines, if you have less money, obviously they're much more significant to you
Sure.
than somebody who, is better off.
Sure.
That's a reason to do away with them.
That's
Is there, I don't know if you can hear me. I had to switch to my phone. Something happened with
We
my
can hear you.
headphones. Are we okay? Great. Is there possibly something we could consider to continue to encourage responsible behavior, but have it not be monetary? Maybe people who have, outstanding books can't put something on hold, or you don't get automatic renewal, or something that still encourages the behavior that we want people to exhibit. Because I think if there's no consequences of overdue books, we may end up with a bit of a situation where, people just aren't motivated to bring them back until they feel like it.
It sounds to me, and this is what we would have to figure out here. My initial thought was if you had anything that was overdue, you wouldn't be able to check out anything else until you returned the overdue item. It sounds like some systems have chosen like, if you have like 3 overdue items, then you can't check out anymore. Like they've set some parameter for that. That would be something we'd have to determine. Is it just one item? You've got one overdue item, you can't check out until you bring that item back, or several overdue items? I could query the other systems and find out on average what they're doing.
Yeah, I like Commissioner Wall's suggestion. I think I like the idea of there being something, right? I mean, If there is a bad actor, let's not reward that bad actor. He's just going to go and take everything out.
I mean, typically, let's say it was you have one item overdue and you can't use the library again. I mean, typically most people want to keep using the library, and so that's the motivator to get that back.
Yeah. So, Director Anderson, were you looking for some recommendation, or just was this for general awareness?
I wanted to let you all know, and then if for some reason you all were particularly motivated to speak up in favor or against, you all could do that, but otherwise it's just informational.
Okay. Any more discussion on the topic of fine free?
I just have one question. How is the timing of this proposal compared to the timing of our proposal for additional funding?
Asking for money. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we had decided to write that letter, right? And then after that, I brought this up to the city manager. Okay, all these libraries are going fine free. If we wanted to do that, what would be the process? And then he said we should do that at mid-year. And then it kind of occurred to me that we're saying we're going to do without this $50K. And can you give us another 50?
Although the money doesn't come back to us, but
True.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hall? You're on mute?
Mute.
Sorry. I just looked up real quick the policies for LA County and for Pasadena, and they both say that if the item has gone now late, not being returned past its time for 28 days, they consider it lost, and so they charge the lost fee. And so at that point, then you either have to bring it back, or if the lost fee is over $10, your account's just on hold, so you can't check anything else out. So
that feels a lot like a fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's yeah. So also, Commissioner Hall, I think that $170,000, if I'm thinking correctly, goes back like a really long time. And those are the card holders that maybe owed more than $10, so they didn't ever get wiped from the system. So that may go back decades.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the
in my head, I was just thinking we probably are never going to see that money anyway. So from an equity standpoint, I think this is a great policy.
Yeah, the annual revenue numbers are 40-ish, right? So that would represent 4 years of, and that's assuming it's more than 4 years because you've collected fines. So yeah, it's pretty old. Just quick math says that's pretty old. Any more discussion on fine free? Okay, next item on the agenda is item J2, discussion of library rules of conduct.
Okay, so back in, I believe it was March 2020, I brought the library rules of conduct to the commission. I think only
I was here for that.
Shab, Commissioner Koopman, Commissioner Nafisi, a few of you guys were on the commission then. Commissioner Hall, I don't know if you were. Anyway, I don't think so. Anyway, maybe you were. I can't remember. Anyway, so what happened is, it's so hard to remember back this far, but the city, people from the city attorney's office and the police had gone out to speak to the community about some of the issues with the homeless. And in doing that, some of the residents brought up issues at the library, and then the rules of conduct were looked at, and we realized that they really were not enforceable because they had only been adopted by the Library Commission, and the Library Commission doesn't have the authority to promulgate rules. So we needed an ordinance giving the city manager that authority, because in the charter, it's only the city manager or the city council who can promulgate rules. So that ordinance was being drafted, and then I was asked to also bring the rules of conduct in front of the commission to see if you all had any changes you wanted to suggest. So once the ordinance was passed, the city manager could decide whether to also incorporate changes by the commission. Of course, that was in March 2020, and then we closed down and nothing happened all that time. And then interestingly, I think some of the issues that were happening in the library at that time were sort of mitigated by the fact that the city did such a good job housing some of the homeless people that were in the library every day. So I had a chance, like the week before the holiday closure or the week of, we had to get the council agenda together in just a few days. And I was able to just get this on the agenda, and then we closed down for the break. And the media became very interested in this because the original admin report had talked about the outreach to the homeless, et cetera. I just didn't realize it was going to blow up into this story. To me, it seemed like kind of a formality. So I didn't let you all know that it was going to be on the agenda because I just didn't think it was that big of a deal, I guess. But there was media interest in it. But anyway, the ordinance did get passed, and I did attach there were just two fairly minor suggestions made by the commission. Probably the more significant one being that if there was some kind of public meeting held in the meeting room, like a city council meeting or such, that videotaping would be allowed in that circumstance. So I've sent these to the city manager. We just have not had a chance to meet and discuss about them yet. I do have my monthly meeting with him on Wednesday, and our deadline is approaching for approving all this. So hopefully, he'll have a chance to review them and decide on those suggestions this week. So that's my update for March 2020. You all have any questions about this one?
And Director Anderson, are you looking for anything from the commission other than just is this for our awareness?
Just informational, yes.
Okay, any discussion on the rules of conduct? All right, next item on the agenda, J3, discussion of 2022 budget calendar.
So this is one of those things every year that when we're meeting every other month, I have to really think ahead and make sure that get everything to you all in a timely manner. And so basically, we'll meet again in April, and then we'll meet again in June. So if you all wanted to write a letter for the budget, and I know you all just wrote a letter for the mid-year process, it would probably be good if you all want to do that, to bring the letter back in April, for comments potentially, and then maybe back in June if we need to one final time, if that's necessary. So I just wanted to put this to your attention.
So is your recommendation that we discuss the budget, the 2022-2023 budget at our April meeting, or?
Well, yes, we can definitely do that. But I don't know if you all want to go ahead and assign a couple people to already start working on a letter. That what those people could do is see what happens with the mid-year request, for instance, and then decide, what from that, based on that, whether to ask for collection funds. We always used to ask for one extra librarian. We were able to fill 2 librarian positions this year. I'm not saying you all need to do that or should do that, just trying to give you guys some history. So, or I can just put this back on the agenda in April, and we could discuss it further, decide if somebody wants to write a letter, and then that would just give us the June meeting to approve it and make any changes.
Commissioner Walls? We can't hear you, Commissioner Walls.
Oh, Commissioner Walls, you're on mute.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't.
Better?
Yes.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Oh, then it's going through something that's not my phone. It told me that my audio had cut out, so I dialed in. But if you can hear me now,
We can.
we're all good. I'm excited about this. I know that the budget discussions are going to come up very quickly. I do think it is important to have an idea of how things turn out with the mid-year budget letter, which I believe is happening in a week or two, so that we should know that relatively quickly. My question for you, Director Anderson, is: are there any areas where you feel like there's big gaps, big areas of risk as far as not having funding or staffing, or things that we need to think about that we should be prepared to talk about next meeting? Because I know just like with the staffing, if we just added 2 librarians, is it appropriate for us to ask for more headcount? Do you need it? I know you probably always use it, but does that make sense?
Yes. So for Chairperson Beauchamp and Commissioner Koopman probably remember that every year we were asking for 1 more full-time librarian, for a full-time reference librarian. And then we lost our tech services librarian and our youth services. And then fortunately we were able to replace those 2, but we're still out the reference librarian. But because we just freshly hired people, yes, it feels like, is that asking for too much? I don't know.
Commissioner Willers?
My question, I think, was, because I always think of my own library first, which is the North Branch. Can we increase hours? And how much does it cost to increase hours? I know you've asked for Access Plus, but that's not going to be happening overnight.
Access will also not be staffed. So that is different from having staffed hours. So you could ask, for instance, because we had these budget cuts and we got those North Branch hours got cut, you could ask, for instance, for restoration of those hours, or really, that's a good point, restoration for any of the hours, which I would say what I've heard the most complaints about are the half day at Maine. I know you don't want to hear Maine, but the half day at Maine on Mondays. Probably second is the half day at Maine on Fridays. Closing at 7 instead of 8 at either location, least amount of complaints about. There's not that many people in the library after 7. And that kind of helps us staffing wise, because that we don't have 2 shifts to cover then. We're doing the 1 shift. But, we could look at, restoring some, because North already had less hours anyway. So we could look at asking maybe for those hours back at North, and maybe going back to a full day Monday at Maine. There's some options there.
Yeah, I would like to see in the letter that we asked for some hours back.
Commissioner Hall?
Yeah, I think that would be great to ask for hours back. I guess I'm just wondering, Dr. Anderson, if you have any data about when we did have those hours for, how many people were usually attending and things like that, just so we have some good stuff to back up why we're asking.
I can go back and look at the budget response report for why we decided on the hours that we did. I know part of why we did half day Monday and half day Friday was so that we wouldn't be closed a full day at Maine and the after school kids would have some place to go. I know I have a breakdown by how much those hours cost. So you all could put together something saying, this is how much it would cost to add hours back at North and hours back at Maine. And this is what we would recommend as part of the letter. And then maybe you could also just say, for several years we were asking for a full-time reference library and we're still interested in that, but maybe not have that be the focus of the letter. Maybe getting some hours back would be the number 1 request. And then in terms of, I think you've asked for the same amount of money every year for the collection, but I can give you some past letters so you guys can see what was asked for in the past there, but I can also give you the cost of adding hours back, which probably should be number one, actually. Thank you, Commissioner Willers, for bringing that up. Because I have been thinking about that if we were to ask for hours back, which would be the most important hours to ask for back.
It's feeling a little like maybe we should have a couple people spin off. Is that before April?
To start drafting something?
Yeah, does somebody want to volunteer and maybe make a motion at the same time?
No.
I'll volunteer. So I'll make a motion that myself and whoever else would like, if someone else wants to volunteer, we'll start to draft a letter for the budget for 2022, 2023.
That sounds good. So could we get a second and a second author? Doesn't have to be the same.
I'll second the motion, but I will not offer. I'll be writing monthly reports.
All right. I can be the second if no one else wants to.
Great.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All right. So let me do this. In favor of the motion, Commissioner Koopman,
Yes.
Commissioner Walls. Was that a yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Worsing
Yes.
and Commissioner Willers.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll work with Commissioner Hall and Director Anderson on the letter for the next meeting. The budget letter. All right. So next item on the agenda is item J4, Director's Report.
Okay, so just a couple things to point out from the director's report. One thing is on December 4th, the Friends of the Library held their holiday book sale and it was very successful. They made over $1,000. So they're planning to do another one in April, a little like mini book sale. During the month of January, several of us met online with Cersei Dynex to talk about the possibility of online fine payments for people. It's kind of complicated because Cersei Dynex would have to talk with Munis, which is the city's accounting software, to make that work, which is the hurdle. It would probably involve having to have a PayPal link on Cersei Dynex. And, the only issue with that is, developing an agreement with PayPal, which, could be a little bit complicated. Anyway, I talked to the city manager about that, and he said, let's wait and see if they decide to go fine free, because even though people will still have some fines, they'll reduce so significantly that maybe this won't be such a priority, really. So that's what we're doing first. I do also want to point out that we had an intern from Redondo Union High School, and we interviewed him, and we've now hired him as a page. We actually have a full-time clerk who's been here maybe 20 years or more, who started intern and then a page, and now she's a full-time clerk and she's been with the library this whole time. So anyway, that was kind of exciting. And then also I looked at the statistics today, and in terms of this is interesting. In terms of gate count and circulation, I went back and I found a 6-month period in 2019, pre-pandemic, to compare to the 6-month period we have on currently on here. And the gate count, we have the 62,000 gate count. And back in 2019, for a 6-month period, we had 153,000 person gate count. So that's way down. However, for physical circulation, we have right now 174,000, and back in that same period in 2019, it was 191,000. So not the physical circulation is getting back up there, which is interesting because the gate count is still fairly low. Now, I attribute that to people still being a little bit scared to get out and do things in public still. We haven't brought back a lot of our adult programs because they've been hesitant to come back. We often would have like 100-person programs, and we haven't had any of those since the pandemic. I will say that we did keep our children's programs going this whole time, even though a lot of our surrounding systems halted everything because of Omicron, but we figured we'd just follow the county guidelines. And if the county wasn't saying to halt programs, we'd keep going. I felt, and we haven't had as big of an attendance, so people are deciding what they're comfortable with. My feeling was that, these kids in that 0 to 5 age group have now missed out on two years of in-person story time, which is a lot for that age. So we did keep that going. But anyway, I just think it's interesting that, our circulation is getting back up there even without the gate count.
And would you add digital to both, and would we exceed 2019?
Now, digital went up hugely when we were closed, and it's gone down since things have opened back up, although I think it's still higher. I didn't look into that number this time, but it's not as high as it was when everything was closed. I mean, at one point we were completely closed, no curbside service or anything. So I will say our DVD, like our physical DVD circuit, is way down. So I think people are just used to like streaming now.
Yeah. Any questions or comment on Director Anderson's report? Commissioner Koopman?
With the increase of digital circulation, do you think we're going to have to look for another vendor other than Hoopla? Or because I remember at the time we had increased, I forget what it was, and
like 10 versus 5.
Right, there was like so many limits per patron on Hoopla, right?
Oh,
And so something like that. So if we increase that, will we have to increase our cost to Hoopla, our payment to Hoopla? And then, are there other services out there too for streaming or, I'm just thinking down the road of what in terms of other options or what other costs that we might see, because digital is becoming so common now, right?
Well, we did add Canopy, and the Friends thankfully pay for that. So I have great thanks to them. And there are some other services, but we felt like with Canopy and Hoopla, and then we've got all the ebook and the 2 ebook and e-audio book as well, that's quite a bit because there's some overlap already in some of these. But at one point we had Criterion Collection streaming, and it did not do very well at all. And it wasn't pay per use, it was pay for the subscription, and it was really expensive. So we dropped that one. But we could, if people really stop using physical DVDs altogether, I guess we would keep that in mind, that we would need to. Oh, Grace, you're on mute.
Sorry, no. My child was asking me a question. Sorry. All right. No, I didn't have any questions. I'm sorry. I'm good.
Now we're all at home. Except for Director Anderson, who's in the office.
I do apologize. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, next item on the agenda is K, member items and referral to staff. Commissioner Willers, did you want to say something?
Yes. I was curious about, do we have any, I look at all the libraries across the country, I guess small, tiny little libraries, not the size of Redondo, and they have genealogy experts that come in and they have genealogy days, or they have a special program on quilting, which everybody seems to be doing nowadays, since we had a pandemic, I guess. Does the library ever do any of those things?
We have not done, I don't think we've done genealogy since I've been here. We have done some kind of maker type activities for sure. We just haven't brought back those. I mean, the teens are coming in, we were having programs for the teens and the kids.
Right.
We just have not brought back the adult programs because at least our regular adult programs, none of them have wanted to come back yet. But I'm hoping Omicron seems to be kind of fading, that maybe by this spring we'll be back to normal.
It's just the biggest programs I've seen in other libraries is this genealogy thing, where everybody wants to know how to do their genealogy.
Well, will you send me a link? Because maybe if I can see what they're doing, maybe I can find, some expert who could come in and do that here.
I don't know if people in Redondo are interested in that or not. It's mostly been in small libraries that I've seen it. So I don't even know if
We did have a somewhat related, we did do some programs on like the history of Redondo Beach, and those were very popular. Like 100 people would show up. And
wow.
So we could get back to that eventually once we're doing those kinds of events. But those were always very well attended.
Okay. Just curious. And I'll send you what I have on the genealogy ones.
Okay.
Commissioner Walls.
All good?
We can hear you.
Awesome, thank you. So Director Anderson, would this be the time for me to bring up around kind of still along the lines of marketing and outreach and letting the public and letting our community know what the Redondo Beach Public Library has to offer? It seems like we have a wonderful opportunity with the main library and the space that it occupies and the corner that it occupies there on PCH and Diamond, I believe it is, or Cornelian, to potentially take a look at using that for maybe banners promoting the library or a marquee with events kind of rotating through. And I understand that there may have been some research done on this before I was a library commissioner, and I'd be interested in seeing that and kind of seeing what went into that and what the results were, because obviously it didn't go forward, or maybe it did for a little while, but I'd be very interested in kind of resurrecting that research if it's available, if it's not too much of a trouble.
Okay.
I like that idea. And I see that the police always have, these police are driving me nuts. They always have that lit sign on that they're looking for people and they're looking for extra this and extra that they run all the time. That's an electronic bulletin board that they put in the middle of the street on Artesia.
We do have one other thing I forgot when we were talking about, every place we advertise our programs is the city has those electronic signs inside buildings around the city, and we do put our flyers on that. So that's yet another place that we advertise. And we have used, and I'll talk about this a little next time, but we have, with the Friends Book Sale, put a banner on the building where you're talking about before. But yes, I can put that on the agenda.
Thank you.
Any other items or referrals to staff? Okay, next item on the agenda is to adjourn. Do we have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Can I just say that we've gotten really good at running these meetings really quickly.
We're cranking out the letters.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Coopin.
I'll second.
I think Commissioner Hall beat you by a second, Commissioner Willis. All right. In favor of adjourning, Commissioner Walls?
Aye.
And Commissioner Hall second, I think, and Commissioner Worsing?
Aye.
Commissioner Willers?
Aye.
All right. With that, we're adjourned. Thank